The crimson sky glowed, tainted by blood, as an inexplicably halved moon hung above. The city, engulfed in flames, marked the demise of the entire world. Once teeming with light and voices, the city now dwelled in pervasive darkness. A desolate scene unfolded. Scorched corpses and severed body parts littered the landscape, with famished rats scurrying amidst the devastation. Amidst this infernal tableau, atop a mound of lifeless bodies, a lone figure knelt. Clutching a die, he wielded a spear embedded in the chest of a fallen man. Utter despair enveloped him as he questioned, in anguished tones, why forgiveness eluded him. With a vice-like grip on the spear's hilt, he gazed hatefully at the lifeless form before him, lamenting the senseless slaughter. His desperate cry echoed in the void, accusing the deceased man, a supposed heavenly demon, for the annihilation of all. Yet, the plea met only with silence, as death had already claimed the alleged perpetrator. Despite ending the life of the alleged perpetrator, the protagonist couldn't find it in himself to forgive the man for the world's ruin. Abruptly, a radiant beam of starlight pierced the darkness, homing in on him. A voice hailed him as the awakened Lee Shin-hyuk, commending his actions. The speaker, a woman in a flowing starlight dress with waist-length silver hair, floated gracefully. This celestial figure identified herself as the goddess Vega, adorned with titles like Vega Star and the Goddess of Harps. Turning her attention to the desolate survivor, she declared that he had vanquished the heavenly demon and saved the world. Yet, seated amidst a mountain of corpses, having lost everything, he couldn't resonate with her proclamation. A bitter chuckle escaped him. In a sudden shift, he raised his head and vehemently questioned her, rejecting her notion of saving the world. He gestured towards the lifeless body of the demon lying beside him, demanding answers to the apparent nonsense she spoke. Questioning the notion of salvation, he delved into the genesis of the cataclysm a decade prior. The upheaval commenced with the appearance of a mysterious gate, linking their world to the unknown outside. From these gates emerged hordes of enigmatic monsters, plunging the world into true hell. Amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope materialized, the transcendent beings, also known as constellations. They bestowed stigmas representing various constellations upon individuals, granting them the strength to resist the monstrous onslaught. This marked the dawn of the star-empowered, known as metahumans. Bestowed with superhuman abilities, they became humanity's ray of hope in the battle against the encroaching monsters. However, this hope faltered with the arrival of Kwon Ojin, also known as the Heavenly Demon. Initially an ordinary metahuman, he wielded a unique power, the Black Heavens. This ability allowed him to absorb even constellations, propelling his strength to unprecedented levels at an alarming pace. Recognizing the looming threat he posed, thousands of awakened ones united to obliterate the monstrous heavenly demon. Constellations, erstwhile rivals, joined forces in a futile attempt to defeat the formidable foe. Even in human form, the demon proved unstoppable, mercilessly slaughtering and devouring thousands, including the noble constellations, brave warriors, and good apostles. Earth, once a shining star, met its demise in a gruesome bloodbath. The goddess, recounting the tale, revealed that the heavenly demon eventually met his end. Turning to the despondent Lee Shin-hyuk, she inquired if he had killed the monster. Extending her hands, an array of golden glowing mechanical gears materialized behind her. She spoke of a star pledge, a wish granted to the savior who vanquished the heavenly demon. Realizing the significance, Lee Shin-hyuk, with newfound determination, requested a return to the past. Vega, taken aback, questioned his desire to regress. Despite her attempt to dissuade him, Lee Shin-hyuk insisted, opting to alter the course of events. Vega raised her eyebrows in surprise, cautioning him about the potential horrors of revisiting the past and hinting at the uncertainty of the future in his newfound world. Responding with unwavering resolve, Lee Shin-hyuk asserted his knowledge of the impending events and his determination to be a different kind of regressor. As the one defying the world's fate, he aimed to rewrite history with an unalterable conclusion. Observing the intensity in the boy's eyes, Vega silently contemplated his request. Acknowledging his decision, Vega consented to sending him back to the past as per the oath of the stars. Seizing the moment, Li Xinhyek proposed a bargain. He requested the stigma of the star Vega, surprising the goddess. Regaining her composure, Vega swiftly dissuaded him, emphasizing the futility of a human resisting her and the invincibility of even a heavenly demon against her. In a chilling tone, she asserted that defeating the heavenly demon did not guarantee change, as survival odds were slim. Unyielding, Li Xinhyek argued that without such an attempt, time travel held no purpose. Reminding Vega of the grim reality, he questioned if she was aware of it. Silent acknowledgement passed through her, and after a moment's contemplation, she agreed. Vega pledged to bestow the stigma of the Vega star upon him when he traveled to the past through the oath. Surprising Li Xinhyek, she revealed her intention to personally search for him. Curious, he inquired if she would lose her memories when he regressed. Vega affirmed, noting that he would possess her stigma, allowing recognition. She proposed an intriguing offer. If he could withstand the power of her stigma, she would accept him as her apprentice. Li Xinhyek was profoundly shaken by the unexpected offer to become the guardian of the Vega star, a role he never fathomed for himself. Amidst his preparations, he turned to the fallen heavenly demon, vowing to etch his face into memory and expressing his fury for everything stolen from him. The goddess extended her hand, bathed in bright golden light, fulfilling her vow as the gears intensified their glow. Addressing him as the celestial star, Vega warned him to be cautious. As the celestial gears materialized in the sky, Li Xinhyek reflected on his losses and regrets, determined to change his fate. The golden sphere radiated even brighter before plunging him into darkness and unconsciousness. Upon awakening, he felt a sense of weightlessness as system windows appeared, indicating the bestowment of the Vega star stigma. However, a red system window warned of the overwhelming strength of the stigma, causing his body's deterioration. Amidst this struggle, memories flooded in. Li Xinhyek recalled his younger brother, Li Wuhyuk, who possessed the strength to be chosen as one of the 12 zodiacs. Tragically, destiny took a different turn, and Li Wuhyuk lay lifeless. In anguish, he confronted a man, questioning the unfairness of his brother's death and demanding answers. The heavenly demon, casting an angry and contemptuous gaze, blamed Li Xinhyek for the catastrophic events, asserting that none of it would have occurred had he not abandoned him. Bewildered, Li Xinhyek found the demon's face oddly familiar, though he couldn't recall where he had seen it before. Before he could ponder further, his body, surrounded by lightning, entered an unstable energy state, reported by the system window. Deterioration began, leaving him powerless. Amidst the crisis, he heard a voice questioning his presence. Turning, he spotted a guy, another heavenly demon, expressing surprise and concern for his well-being. Li Xinhyek, recognizing the newcomer, froze, wondering about the sudden appearance. The next moment, he coughed up blood, the system window notifying of worsening conditions. Despite the growing pain, he attempted resistance, telling himself he could endure even with slim survival odds. However, harsh reality prevailed. As the pain escalated, he couldn't grasp the opportunity to be the 1 in 1,000 or even 10,000. Moments later, the system window delivered the grim message. Awakened Li Xinhyek has passed away. The nearby guy, witnessing the fallen body, feared Li Xinhyek's demise. In anger, he clenched his teeth, shouting that if death was imminent, he'd at least take down the monsters. Jumping to his feet, holding a branch, the guy panicked, contemplating his predicament as an unawakened individual, unsure of what to do. Overwhelmed by fear, the guy desperately attempted to revive the fallen Li Xinhyek. Irritated by the absence of a stigma on the supposedly awakened individual, he checked for any signs. To his surprise, he discovered an unfamiliar glowing blue mark on the guy's chest. A system notification materialized, announcing the commencement of the first awakening of the Black Heaven. Bewildered, the guy struggled to comprehend the unfolding events. The system informed him that the Black Heaven was absorbing the Vega stigma. Eyes widening in astonishment, the guy watched as the system reported the complete absorption, unleashing unbearable pain. Like his predecessor, he writhed in agony, encircled by blue modelins, vehemently cursing a fate he vehemently wished to avoid. The system, recognizing the overwhelming power of the stigma, promised adjustments based on the Black Heaven's development stage. After enduring the torment, the mentally and physically drained guy slumped to the ground, relieved that the ordeal had concluded. As he gazed at the system window, he incredulously questioned if only the awakened could perceive it. Pulling off his shirt, he examined the mark on his chest, pondering the mysteries that unfolded during those 5 minutes of his life. Amidst contemplation, the guy's thoughts were abruptly halted by the emergence of a golden light from a girl standing before him. Surprisingly, she remarked that she had unmistakably sensed the energy of her stigma from this location. Directing her attention to the wide-eyed boy, she stated that he bore a stigma she had never bestowed upon anyone before. In a solemn tone, she proclaimed him to be a star defying fate, a creature challenging destiny, the sole savior of a world teetering on its demise. The revelation left the guy bewildered, and in response, he exclaimed, "What?" Clearly, the notion of being a regressor was the last thing he expected to hear. Kwon Ojin, an 8-year-old boy, found himself under the mysterious influence of a celestial force, as the velvet voice of the goddess proclaimed him the heavenly star and the world's sole savior. However, he remained oblivious to this divine destiny. Ojin, an elderly figure, addressed Kwon Ojin, imparting a cynical lesson about manipulating people by showing them what they want to see and letting them hear what they desire. Despite the old man's probing, Kwon Ojin couldn't fathom the concept of being a regressor, having never experienced such a phenomenon. Amidst the conversation, the boy couldn't help but mock the old man's appearance, responding with occasional laughter, and even giving him a defiant middle finger. Kwon Ojin's childhood had been marked by darkness, enduring physical abuse for perceived misbehavior from the seemingly benevolent old man. Unfazed by the bruises, Kwon Ojin continued to resist, sarcastically describing the orphanage as a wonderful place where he did as he was told and spoke what others wanted to hear. This only fueled the old man's anger, prompting him to declare that if the little boy sought death, today might be the day. The old man, rolling up his sleeves, was ready to enforce his authority, escalating the tension in this tumultuous interaction. Savior and tormentor collided in the orphanage's chaotic drama. A black-haired girl, Song Haen, intervened, launching a swift kick at the old man's sensitive area, berating him for his nose-picking habits and teasing him about his baldness. Despite the pain, the defiant old man retorted, shouting at the children to stay put, vehemently denying his baldness. Unfazed, Song Haen seized the battered Kwon Ojin, cursing the eccentric old man. Leading him away from the orphanage into the daylight, she checked on Kwon Ojin's well-being. Song Haen emerged as the 10-year-old boy's sole support in this oppressive environment. The orphanage's director, despite his questionable methods, was the only semblance of stability for the children. Kwon Ojin, lying shamelessly to his visiting parents about the orphanage's condition, realized that survival in this hellish place was paramount. In a pivotal moment, a foreboding gate cut through the sky with purple light, unleashing a horde of unknown monsters upon the land. From small to great, horned to winged, these creatures turned the world into a living nightmare. Simultaneously, a constellation possessing the formidable power of star signs appeared, bringing forth metahumans marked by the stigmas of the constellations. The once familiar world was now transformed into a battleground between unknown entities and newly awakened metahumans. Within the realm of metahumans, Kwon Ojin skillfully deceived his peers, reaping substantial benefits for an easier survival. Acknowledging his fellow workers' prowess, Kwon Ojin received praise, reciprocating the admiration in light of the copious tasks at hand. Amidst pleasantries, Kwon Ojin was queried about venturing to the next ominous gate. Without hesitation, Ojin affirmed his intent, maintaining a sly smile despite his underlying frustration. Deceptively posing as a high-ranking metahuman, he exploited his comrades, manipulating them into performing the dirty work while he reaped the rewards and plotted his escape. On this particular day, Ojin successfully duped one metahuman, inciting a loud cry of indignation from a gray-haired individual named Li Xin. Persistently questioning Ojin's claim of being a disciple of Aquarius, one of the 12 zodiac signs, Li Xin showcased disbelief. Undeterred, Ojin, with a wry smirk, urged Li Xin not to be overly surprised, explaining that while he hailed from the zodiac signs, he only possessed the first star. Presenting himself as the consummate con man, Ojin mimicked excitement at Li Xin's affiliation with Pixies, a star of the compass constellation. Downplaying his own significance, Li Xin modestly stated his position compared to the 12 signs, emphasizing the limited scope of his abilities. In this intricate web of deception, Ojin continued his charade, praising the compass constellation's unique capabilities in controlling direction and orientation in space, along with an apparent immunity to the weight of any weapon. In a twist of fate, the humble opponent, initially uncomfortable with the praise, corrected Kwon Ojin, signaling his understanding of the power dynamic. Seizing the opportunity, Ojin decided to establish dominance and introduced himself with the alias Kwon Ojin. Invoking fate, he proposed forming a squad, a proposition eagerly accepted by Li Xinhyek. Curiosity lingered over Ojin's decision to align with a lower constellation. With an awkward expression, Ojin admitted his lack of proficiency in utilizing his stigma, clarifying that despite awakening over a year ago, he remained stuck as the first star. Li Xinhyek, undeterred, agreed to the partnership. Metahumans ascended through star classes, progressing from the first star to the 12th based on their transcendent constellation stigma. Emphasizing the significance of understanding stigma utilization, Ojin exposed his chest, urging Li Xinhyek to confirm his own. To Ojin's dismay, the actual image of a constellation was absent, having been intentionally scratched out in the past for fraudulent endeavors. Reflecting on the challenges endured for that symbol, Ojin issued a cautious warning to his comrade, advising him to disregard the gate's perceived low status for the sake of decency. Despite the successful ploy, a lingering sense of foreboding accompanied Ojin's optimism for the day ahead. Preparing for battle, Kwon Ojin suggested buffing Li Xinhyek before the impending confrontation. As a herd of animals emerged, Ojin initiated his sorcery, forming a triangular shape with his palms in the marked area. Addressing the star sign of Aquarius, he requested a buff, invoking the mini LEDs embedded in the mark. "Color the darkness of this student," Ojin urged the stars. Light spilled around him, created from carefully mixed glass powder and fluorescent dye. In response, Li Xinhyek, holding his spear, felt a surge of warmth and awakening cells, marveling at the strength bestowed by Aquarius. Grateful for the opportunity to showcase his skills, Xinhyek joined the battle, smiling at his enemies. Amidst the skirmish, he pondered the power of the buff, likening it to the placebo effect. In the midst of the chaos, Ojin took a moment to reflect on past shenanigans, praising a skilled comrade and expressing intention to recover Mori crystals. Recognizing the exceptional abilities of this individual, Ojin saw an opportunity to earn a substantial amount through the stolen crystal. However, an uneasy calm settled over the surroundings, prompting concern. A noise from the bushes drew attention, and Li Xinhyek, alerted, held his spear at the ready, pointing at potential predators. The once silent battlefield now teemed with uncertainty as the impending threat revealed itself, adding a layer of tension to the ongoing confrontation. Surrounded by a pack of armored wolves resembling crayfish shells, the boys faced imminent danger. The wolves' glossy, tough exteriors betrayed their hunger, their bright red eyes aglow with the anticipation of attack. Sensing the urgency, Li Xinhyek called out to Ojin, urging him to join in evading the imminent threat. Ojin, having experience in low-ranked gates, was perplexed by the unprecedented number of monsters. The wolves, relentless in pursuit, matched the boy's speed, creating an air of desperation. Amidst the chaos, Ojin noticed a strange look in Li Xinhyek's eyes, questioning his motives. Suddenly, a sharp kick to the face revealed Li Xinhyek's betrayal, leaving Ojin on the ground with a bleeding nose and cursing the traitor. As the wolves closed in, Ojin realized he was a victim of deception, pondering why he should be the one to survive. Meanwhile, Li Xinhyek, feeling remorse, experienced an unexpected surge of pain, a mysterious lightning-like strike coursing through his body. Confused and in pain, Ojin grappled with the unfolding situation, contemplating the uncertain fate of his erstwhile companion, wondering what he would do if Li Xinhyek were to meet an untimely end. In a desperate situation, Ojin searched Li Xinhyek, seeking anything of value. Lifting the unconscious man's shirt, Ojin was taken aback by the unexpected discovery of a stigma. But it wasn't pixies, it was Vega. As the black heaven intensified, the environment around Ojin shifted dramatically. Before him stood a reincarnated man, and accompanying him was a woman in a snow-white dress. Growls from the monsters heightened the urgency. In just minutes, Ojin would be torn apart. However, gazing into the golden eyes of the woman, Ojin recalled Li Xinhyek's claim of possessing a unique stigma. A sudden realization struck Ojin. The stigma did not belong to pixies. It belonged to Vega. Li Xinhyek was a regressor. The phenomenon of blue lightning traversing Li Xinhyek's body before his demise was explained by Ojin absorbing his stigma. In that moment, the power of the black heaven activated, passing Li Xinhyek's stigma to Ojin. Facing the menacing woman, who questioned his identity as the regressor, Ojin struggled to provide answers. The woman was adamant, sensing the Sigma star, and Ojin had little time to comprehend the gravity of the situation. The revelation of his newfound powers and the absorption of Li Xinhyek's stigma left Ojin grappling with uncertainty as the woman's inquiries pressed on relentlessly. In a decisive moment, Ojin affirmed his identity as a returnee. Unfamiliar with the concepts of black heaven, sinful star, or the name of the majestic goddess before him, he acknowledged his status to survive in this unknown realm, even if it meant deceiving a god. The emotionless goddess, standing majestically, responded with a smile, expressing her pride in the confirmation of his status as a sinful star. Ojin, impressed by her belief in him, contemplated the consequences of deceiving a transcendent being. He nervously wondered if he would face repercussions later. The goddess, despite her desire to discuss the details of Ojin's future, acknowledged the immediate threat of armored monsters. Recognizing that it wasn't her responsibility to save mortal lives, she turned to Ojin, expressing eagerness to witness the power of the Sin Star. Despite Ojin's apprehension, she reassured him, urging him not to worry, and emphasized that there was no pressure. Hovering like a cloud in the sky, Ojin found himself caught up in the unfolding events. Acknowledging the encroaching armored monsters, the goddess encouraged Ojin to join the fight, expressing a genuine desire to witness his strength. She assured him that there was ample time, expressing her curiosity about the rising star's capabilities. In this mysterious and perilous situation, Ojin was compelled to showcase the power of the Sin Star, and the goddess eagerly anticipated the spectacle that would unfold. As the pack of wolves closed in on Quan Ojin, the impending confrontation left him with no choice but to face the bloodthirsty predators. In the face of this perilous situation, the patient goddess awaited his introduction. Cursing his existence in the face of potential doom, Ojin prepared for the impending clash. The scraping of claws and the roaring of approaching wolves grated on his ears, intensifying the feeling of hopelessness. Despite the imminent threat, Ojin assumed a defensive stance, his body overflowing with energy, feeling as light as a feather. Despite his low-level star status, Ojin possessed the body of an awakened one, granting him the agility needed for the impending battle. The wolves lunged forward, aiming to feast on his flesh, but Ojin, with a few pirouettes, skillfully slashed the air, disarming some attackers. The goddess, arms folded across her chest, observed the battle with anticipation. Amidst the skirmish, a sneak attack targeted Ojin from behind. Swiftly swinging his weapon, he fended off the assailant, showcasing unexpected strength. Ojin marveled at the ease with which he dispatched the wolves, their blood spilling with each swing of his spear. In the midst of battle, a sudden revelation struck Ojin. A piece of information flashed through his mind: Pixie Spear Art Level 4 obtained. Confused by this unexpected development, Ojin struggled to comprehend what was happening. He questioned the origin of this newfound skill and pondered the capabilities it might unveil. The guy who had clung to the spear leaned over the ground, leaving Ojin in a state of both confusion and astonishment. Exhausted from the intense workout on a hot day, Ojin contemplated whether he had the stamina to continue. The training had been demanding, and he feared falling behind. Despite the fatigue, he found renewed vigor and began pounding the target doll, pushing himself to the limits. In the midst of this training, Ojin experienced a unique phenomenon. He saw memories, potentially fragments of Li Xinhyek's recollections, and noticed a scar on his left cheek that had gone unnoticed before. These memories seemed different, not from the past, but perhaps snippets from a past or future life. Empowered by this newfound information, Ojin could replicate stances he had never learned, now equipped with pixie skills that enhanced his defensive capabilities and brought him closer to victory. However, a question lingered in Ojin's mind: was a first-star regressor truly this powerful? The pile of dead wolves before him attested to his strength, even surpassing Onir retrievers in his recollection. As he contemplated the aftermath, a blonde-haired woman, presumably the goddess, interrupted his thoughts, instructing him to lower his weapon. Misunderstanding her intentions, Ojin questioned if it was all a planned show to amuse her. The disgruntled goddess, noting his confusion, inquired why he hadn't used his stigma power. Discouraged, Ojin realized that throughout the battle, he had relied on his strength without tapping into the power of the stigma. The goddess, sensing his bewilderment, theorized that even a reborn individual might struggle to utilize their stigma. Likening it to a child learning to walk. Surprised by this insight, Ojin seized the opportunity, deciding to take advantage of her misconception. Confirming her earlier words with a nod, he held out his hand, ready to explore the possibilities that this newfound understanding might offer. Extending her white-gloved hand, the goddess offered to assist the baby in taking its first steps. Overwhelmed by the words, Ojin felt blessed by Vega herself. A notification then pierced his head with pain, indicating the temporary amplification of Vega's stigma, and memories of the blue lightning and the name Vega flooded his mind. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed through the forest as blue lightning struck Ojin standing in the field. Muscles contracting in spasms, he struggled to remain on his feet. Instinctively, the remaining wolves recoiled, and through gritted teeth, Ojin hissed syllables, requesting the goddess to give him a heads-up next time. In agony, Ojin thrust the metal spear into the ground, unleashing blue thunder level 1. The powerful discharge entered the wet ground, creating a spiderweb of fractures. The ground turned ash black, and the remaining monsters were wiped out in a single blow. Ojin marveled at his newfound abilities, questioning how a mere first-star awakened individual could achieve such feats. Reflecting on the mention of Vega's name in the notifications, the satisfied goddess praised Ojin's rapid progress, confirming his status as a regressor. Muttering to himself, Ojin pondered whether the Starweaver girl was the one mentioned in the notifications. Hearing his mumbled thoughts, Vega put her hand to her cheek and asked if he had called out to her, causing Ojin to break into a nervous sweat. In a twist of fate, the Real Vega stood before Ojin. Amidst the countless constellations in the sky, Vega hailed from the constellation of Vega, one of the highest and most powerful constellations. As an alpha within her celestial domain, she surpassed others to the extent that even the 12 zodiacs dared not look down upon her. Vega, a goddess of immense power, now stood behind Ojin, who froze at the realization that he had deceived her. While Vega attempted to engage in conversation, Ojin, absorbed in contemplating his plan of action, found himself in a precarious situation. Realizing that he had gone too far, he weighed his options and acknowledged that admitting the truth could lead to dire consequences. The mortal daring to deceive a god faced the imminent threat of a shortened life. Laughing at the audacity of such an act, Vega, if angered, would surely bring swift retribution. Recognizing that he initiated this situation, Ojin resolved to see it through, devising a ruse to navigate the predicament. Putting his weapon aside, Ojin approached Vega, maintaining a facade of cooperation while internally grappling with the complexity of the situation. The goddess awaited his response, unaware of the internal turmoil brewing within the young man standing before her. Quan Ojin surprised Vega with an unexpected revelation, claiming that he missed her dearly. Taking her hand, he uttered his name, seemingly trying to jog her memory. The performance continued as Ojin shed a few tears, insisting that he had been contemplating the idea that they would never meet again. He pulled her hand closer to his face, creating a poignant scene. In a shaky voice, Ojin continued, expressing relief. He feigned upset, suggesting that Vega didn't remember their supposed relationship. The boy then released her hand, apologizing for any inconvenience caused. Despite his nonchalant demeanor, there was an underlying tension, and he urged Vega to tell him what had transpired between them. Placing his hand on his heart and adopting a sorrowful expression, Ojin portrayed himself as someone who had been through a lot. He promised to share the future with her after listening to a long and sad story. In response, Vega, expressing understanding, forewarned that she would eventually be killed. She hinted at the impending darkness that would swallow all constellations, including her, in the black heavens, a fate and destiny that she claimed were unavoidable. Ojin, failing to comprehend her logic or reasoning, nodded in agreement, adopting a smart look to mask his confusion. Despite her attempts to explain the power of Mr. Black Heavens and the potential consequences for the world, Ojin nervously chuckled, recalling the earlier events. It seemed as though she was referring to his abilities, a fact that eluded his understanding of the larger cosmic narrative. The revelation came that after Li Xinheik's death, the first bloom of the Black Heavens had begun, signifying Quan Ojin's destiny to destroy the entire world. Shocked by this ominous turn of events, Ojin loudly swore in his thoughts, assuring himself that since he had returned, everything would be alright. Uncertain, he questioned Vega, seeking reassurance. In a bid to protect Vega from being consumed by the Black Heavens, Ojin took her hand once again, swearing to be her protector. Vega, correcting his address to awakened Quan Ojin, acknowledged him as a rising star who would defy fate. With a gentle touch of her finger, she declared that her star would light his challenging path. As Ojin processed this newfound information, he realized that Vega had appointed him as her apostle. The Black Heavens had begun absorbing mana from his stigma, meeting the conditions for its flourishing. The gravity of becoming Vega's apostle left Ojin in disbelief, realizing that the path back to his previous life no longer existed. After some time, Vega finally turned her gaze to the person lying face down on the ground. Ojin, changing the subject, mentioned Shin, describing him as a villain who had been breaking in and robbing the innocent, though omitting the specifics about Li Xin. He requested that she not despise him too much. In response, the goddess praised Ojin for acting as a true regressor, preventing future atrocities. As Ojin agreed with the statement about being the only one capable of preventing atrocities, he pulled Vega's hand away. Small sparks began to gather around her, gradually transforming into lightning. Vega, noticing the effects of the commandments taking hold, expressed her desire to talk more but indicated that her time on Earth was coming to an end. Earlier, Vega had blessed Ojin, breaking the commandments, and now, bound by those commandments, she could no longer interfere in mortal affairs. A powerful discharge of electricity struck the ground, signifying the approaching end of her time. Despite the urgency, she asked Ojin to come to her sanctuary exactly 1 week later. With a bright blue flash, Vega dissolved, leaving Ojin to fall to the ground amidst the disarray of thoughts. As he brought his hand up to his stigma, Ojin couldn't believe he now bore the mark of the northern constellation. The death of Lee Shin-hyuk had completely altered his life. Turning to the lifeless body, he hesitantly thanked the unknown force for this transformative chance. From now on, he was the returned one. When Ojin regained his senses after the transformative encounter with Vega, he decided to treat himself to a meal at a local fast food restaurant. He ordered 2 Big Macs, which, surprisingly, cost him almost $16. Pondering the seemingly high price, he strolled through the narrow streets and crosswalks on his way home, wondering what made these hamburgers so expensive. Upon reaching home, he opened the door and announced his arrival as if he weren't alone. True enough, a red-haired girl named Sean was waiting for him. Despite being awake, she lay on the bed in complete darkness. Ojin, upon entering, turned on the light, only to find that Sean didn't seem to notice, casually asking why he came back later than usual. Sean had been Ojin's sole support during his difficult time in the orphanage, and years later, she remained a bright presence in his life. Smiling, she greeted him warmly and suggested he give her a cigarette instead of just standing there. Ojin, tiredly responding, advised her against talking as soon as he got back. In a playful exchange, Sean questioned what he meant, asserting that she was 2 years older and therefore, his elder. Ojin retorted that she's his elder ass, and they continued their banter. He then informed her about buying some hamburgers and handed one to her, adding a touch of normalcy to their unique relationship. Sean expressed deep gratitude for Ojin's care, revealing a tragic past where she, as an awakener, lost her right leg and became completely blind in battle. Their roles reversed, Ojin became her caretaker, and over the years, their bond grew stronger. During their conversation over hamburgers, Sean, taking a few bites, curiously asked why the burger tasted different. Ojin explained that he bought it from a fast food restaurant instead of the usual frozen ones. Surprised, Sean questioned if Ojin had been hurt or hit on the head by a monster, as this was unlike his usual behavior of saving money. Ojin casually mentioned that he had earned some money and wanted to buy something for her. As Sean looked at him with curiosity, Ojin noticed a sauce stain on his face. When she asked about it, Ojin informed her and suggested she just eat, dismissing concerns about appearance. Sean attempted to locate the stain herself but eventually asked Ojin to point it out. Ojin, teasingly, remarked that she was ugly regardless of the sauce and began explaining that he bought burger combos instead of frozen ones that day. As Ojin began to explain the details about his awakening to Song, she initially didn't believe him. However, when the truth sank in, she dropped her ice-cold Coke on the bed. Ojin had to spend a significant amount of time answering her questions and providing details about his awakening. It became apparent that Song was surprised, and Ojin struggled to explain the complexities of the situation, especially regarding his deception about being a regressor to a constellation. After the explanations, Ojin found a moment alone to reflect on everything. He realized that he still didn't fully understand what had happened. He grappled with the complexity of his situation, considering the lies he had told to a constellation and the questions Song had raised. Now, he needed to check and comprehend his newfound capabilities and piece together a complete picture of his skills. To start, Ojin decided to understand the meaning of his Black Heaven skill. Information windows appeared in front of him, displaying details about all his skills. Ojin discovered that the Black Heaven skill was his innate ability, currently at its initial stage of awakening. His next skill, Stigma Absorption, allowed him to absorb stigma mana and store it within the Black Heaven. The passive skill, Black Curtain, shrouded the Black Heaven's presence, which could also be extended to possess stigmas. Additionally, the third skill, Transmission, enabled him to read the records contained in absorbed stigmas, with this trait influenced by the awakening stage. The system informed him that his current possessed stigma was Vega. Realizing that the force that absorbed Li Xinhe's stigma had always been the Black Heaven skill, Ojin felt a sense of horror about his past life and wondered what had happened to make him want to destroy the world. However, he recognized that dwelling on this matter was not a priority. His primary concern now was to avoid being discovered, as revealing his possession of Black Heaven would expose his deception about being a regressor. Feeling uneasy about the chaos he had been dragged into, Ojin pondered his next steps. He had one crucial question in mind: how to navigate this situation and emulate the regressor he was pretending to be. With a plan in mind to gain Vega's recognition, Ojin decided to focus on raising the level of his stigma, Vega. He aimed to achieve at least a 2-star rating by the next week. Ojin felt confident about this task as he was already filled with stigma mana, and practicing the management of it was the next step. To prepare for this endeavor, he intended to start killing monsters for practice the following day. However, before getting a good night's sleep, Ojin received interesting news on his smartphone. The reports indicated that anomalies had been discovered, significantly increasing the chance of mutants appearing, even in 1-star locations and dungeons. The news warned newcomers to avoid these locations for a while due to the rising threat of mutants. A specific example mentioned a pack of mutated wolves causing harm to newcomers, and the news further cautioned about the potential appearance of a super mutant boss. Examining the location photo, Ojin realized that it was the same place he had visited earlier that day. The sudden surge in monsters now made sense to him. Mutants, in their world, were monsters with extremely low spawning chances, but when they appeared, they were known to be much stronger than their non-mutant counterparts. Ojin hadn't paid much attention to this during his battle with the wolves, possibly due to his preoccupation with other concerns. However, now he knew for sure that his destination for tomorrow was definitely defined. The next day, he came to the same place where there were already a number of awakeners looking for helpers. One of them realized the danger to himself and was about to pack his bags, but still, most of them were confident in their abilities and were going to hunt monsters. Ojin watched all this and thought that despite the fact that the news warned not to approach this place, there were more people here than usual. The reason was simple: everyone had gathered here for the mutant crystals, which were more expensive than usual. Our protagonist even thought about joining a group like he did before, but now, with his new power, he decided to destroy all the mutants on his own because he didn't want to share his profits with anyone. He went through the magic gate and found himself in the middle of a dark forest. Making his way through the bushes, he gradually approached the center of the location, and everything seemed to be quiet around him. Suddenly, however, he heard a growl from some bushes, and the red eyes of a pack of wolves became visible. They did not waste a minute and immediately rushed at our hero. It seemed that he was caught off guard, and the wolves were approaching him from all sides. However, he saw everything, and the wolf that was sneaking up on him from behind immediately got hit in the head. The other one that tried to attack him from above also failed to hit its target. Moreover, Ojin was able to catch the wolf in flight by its hind leg and painfully landed on the ground. While he was dealing with the wolf that jumped on him, another wolf that was pinned to the ground by the spear started to try to run away. Ojin saw it and asked where it was going. With one powerful kick, he simply crushed the wolf and shouted that since it had come to him, it had to pay for it. The other wolf took advantage of this opportunity and began to run away with tears in its eyes. However, it did not have time to reach its pack. The beam of energy released by our protagonist simply destroyed them all, and only smoke rose above the forest, which was again enveloped in silence. Ojin was surprised by his newfound strength. His physical skills were at an extremely high level. The body of a single wolf usually weighs 80 kilograms, and it's not that easy to defeat them, especially for beginners. However, he could handle them effortlessly, manipulating them as he pleased. With a minimum of effort, he could dispatch them with a single blow. In any case, the main thing lay ahead for him, and the primary focus was on the money he could earn from the crystals collected from their carcasses. Picking up one of the crystals, he thought that it would be worth more than 800,000 won. This was the reason why everyone wanted to become an awakener. After searching all the corpses, he was about to leave when he heard a noise behind him. Ojin was waiting for him, but he wasn't sure he would show up so soon. He asked him if he had come to smell the blood of his friends, as a mutant boss appeared, looking like a mix of a wolf and an ant, accompanied by several smaller wolves. Blind animal fury burned in Ojin's eyes as he immediately rushed to attack. Ojin faced the approaching mutant boss with a sense of anticipation and readiness. The creature's hybrid appearance was unsettling, a testament to the unpredictable mutations that had taken hold in this altered world. The smaller wolves accompanying the mutant boss added to the challenge, creating a formidable opposition. With a focused demeanor, Ojin took a defensive stance, carefully observing the movements of the mutant boss. He knew that this encounter would be more challenging than any he had faced before. The mutant boss, driven by its animalistic fury, lunged at Ojin with incredible speed. Reacting swiftly, Ojin dodged the initial attack, displaying his newfound agility. The unleashed power of Ojin's lightning strike was beyond what the mutant boss could withstand. The spear, enveloped in crackling blue lightning, tore through the air with incredible speed and accuracy. The mutant boss, caught off guard by the sudden display of strength, had little chance to react. The impact of the lightning-infused strike was devastating. The energy surged through the mutant boss, electrifying its form and causing a spectacular explosion of blue sparks. The force of the strike left the mutant boss incapacitated, its body convulsing as the powerful electric currents surged through its mutated anatomy. Ojin, watching the display of his newfound abilities, couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. The mutant boss, once a formidable adversary, now lay defeated at his feet. The blue lightning that surrounded Ojin's spear gradually faded, leaving only the echo of its power in the air. As the dust settled and the forest regained its quietude, Ojin approached the fallen mutant boss. The unique energy signature of the mutant crystal emanated from the creature's remains. With a careful touch, Ojin extracted the crystal, marveling at its rarity and the potential value it held. Our guy felt a bit annoyed by their unwelcome gaze. They started questioning how he managed to defeat the boss on his own. Ojin, not in the mood for chit-chat, casually replied that he was just that good. The strangers, clearly not satisfied with his response, began to challenge him, hinting that they could easily take him down. Ojin, being the confident fellow he is, welcomed the challenge with a smirk. The air was thick with tension as the confrontation loomed. The strangers, likely regretting their decision, exchanged nervous glances. But before things could escalate, Ojin decided to defuse the situation. He casually mentioned that he had no interest in a pointless brawl and was only there for the loot. The strangers, looking a bit relieved, decided to let him be and walked away, muttering something about crazy solo players. With the unnecessary drama avoided, Ojin continued looting the mutant boss, satisfied with his impressive achievement and the new powers that seemed to be at his disposal. Ojin, taking advantage of their momentary confusion, swiftly took down one of the robbers with a well-aimed strike. The unexpected turn of events caught the remaining two off guard, and they were now faced with a situation they hadn't anticipated. Ojin, maintaining his smug smile, taunted the fallen robber, emphasizing his newfound dominance. The remaining robbers, now alerted and on edge, quickly realized that they had underestimated their seemingly submissive prey. In an attempt to salvage the situation, they reached for their weapons. However, Ojin, with a confident swagger, warned them that they had no say in this situation anymore. The tension in the air escalated as Ojin prepared for the impending confrontation. The robbers, now trapped in their own web of deceit, exchanged uneasy glances. They had assumed an easy victory, but the tables had turned dramatically. It was now a battle between the cunning solo player and the overconfident thieves. Ojin, seizing the opportunity, decided to absorb the stigmas of the fallen robbers. As he placed his hand on their stigmas, a surge of energy flowed through him. Information windows popped up, congratulating him on absorbing the Vega's stigma and fulfilling the conditions for the second level of the Black Heavens. However, the process wasn't without its consequences. Dark lightning enveloped his entire body, causing him to cry out in pain. Alongside the physical discomfort, a flood of memories from the robbers' past lives surged into his mind. It was an unexpected and overwhelming experience that left him grappling with the newfound information. In the midst of the dark enlightenment, Ojin couldn't help but wonder about the risks he had taken. The black curtain, concealing his abilities, had provided a veil of secrecy, but absorbing stigmas wasn't a risk-free endeavor. He realized that with the power of the Black Heavens growing, the path ahead was becoming increasingly complex and unpredictable. Ojin found himself submerged in Lashin's memories, glimpsing moments from the hospital room where Lashin woke up after 2 weeks of unconsciousness. The man in the white medical coat revealed himself as the guild head, and an urgent message about a new gate and a potential holy relic interrupted their conversation. As these memories faded away, Ojin realized that there were unexpected benefits to absorbing stigmas. Through Lashin's memories, he managed to enhance his pixie spear art skill to level 5 and acquire a new skill, level 2. Lame excuses. However, the revelations only deepened his curiosity. What more could he unlock? Were there additional memories waiting to be discovered as he advanced in enlightenment? Questions swirled in his mind, propelling him into a quest for further understanding. Ojin's frustration grew as he learned about the significant tax deduction on the crystals he had collected. The cashier's appraisal set the value at $1,440, but a hefty 20% deduction left him with only $1,152. His initial reaction was a muttered curse, yet as he pondered the situation, a realization dawned that the deduction might not be as detrimental as he initially thought. While waiting for his payout, Ojin delved into the possibilities offered by the information from Lashin's memories. The revelation of a holy relic emerging in dawn in 8 days sparked strategic considerations. Contemplating whether to form a team or embark on a solitary quest to claim the relic, he saw the memories as a tool for gaining a competitive edge. Deep in thought, he awaited his money at the cash register, ready to shape his plans based on the insights he had gained. Ojin, still waiting for his money, was confronted by the cashier with an unexpected question. She inquired about his constellation, to which he calmly replied, Vega. The cashier, visibly shocked, sought confirmation by asking him to repeat the constellation's name, and Ojin obliged by spelling out, Vega. The cashier's surprise lingered, and she urged him to proceed to the waiting room. In the VIP waiting room, Ojin found another individual, a cocky and confrontational guy who responded to Ojin's gaze with arrogance. The mysterious atmosphere and the encounter with this brash character left Ojin feeling wary, unsure of what to expect next in this unfolding adventure. Kwon Ojin, unfazed by the disdainful gaze of the blonde-haired guy, focused on the lavish spread of ERT served exclusively to VIPs. Overwhelmed with delight, he reminisced about the days when such luxurious meals were beyond his reach. Seated at the table, he indulged in the sumptuous food, savoring every bite. However, his enjoyment was abruptly disrupted by the arrogant remarks of the blonde guy, who inquired if Ojin was a beggar or a bum. Ojin, maintaining his silence, shifted his gaze toward the contemptuous individual. The hotshot guy continued, criticizing Ojin for slurping too loudly, leaving Ojin bewildered by his hostile attitude. Another, referring to the reputation of the Pandas Guild as one of the best in Korea, primarily comprised of formidable awakened individuals. Kwon Ojin continued to exude an air of confidence, emphasizing that one should be cautious when talking to those from such prestigious guilds. Park Young-woo, now more humble, explained that he had been somewhat inactive lately, leading Kwon Ojin to casually inquire about his star level. The response indicated that Park Young-woo had recently reached the 6th star, impressing Ojin. However, Young-woo's arrogance seemed to have diminished significantly. As their conversation unfolded, the dynamics shifted, and Kwon Ojin subtly asserted his dominance. The mention of overcoming the 9 awakening stars and the subsequent rejuvenation intrigued Young-woo, prompting him to pay closer attention to the mysterious figure before him. Kwon Ojin, reveling in the discomfort he had induced, continued to press Young-woo for information about his guild. The atmosphere in the VIP room became charged, as the dynamics between the two awakened individuals unfolded in an intriguing exchange of power and subtle intimidation. From the VIP room. As Park Young-woo stood there, anxious and eager to please, Kwon Ojin decided to play along with his newfound advantage. He asked Young-woo to carry the bags for him, pretending that such tasks were beneath him. Taking advantage of the situation, Kwon Ojin enjoyed the perks of being treated with newfound respect. Park Young-woo, laden with bags, followed him obediently. Kwon Ojin relished in the notion that manipulating people had become second nature to him. Exiting the VIP room, they attracted attention as they walked through the regular waiting area. Kwon Ojin, reveling in the act, continued to wear a satisfied smirk. He contemplated how easy it was to turn the tables and manipulate those who underestimated him. The narrative highlighted the humorous contrast between Kwon Ojin's perceived status and the reality of his past as a crook. The interactions with Park Young-woo added a layer of amusement to the unfolding events, emphasizing the protagonist's cunning nature. He took a seat and invited Kwon Ojin to do the same. Han Junin explained that the association had been informed about the Vega stigma holder's presence, and that he was here to discuss certain matters. Kwon Ojin, still playing the part, expressed his delight at meeting someone of Han Junin's caliber. He pretended to be curious about why the association was interested in him. Han Junin, maintaining a composed demeanor, explained that the Vega stigma was of significant importance and that the association wanted to ensure a cooperative relationship. As the conversation progressed, Kwon Ojin skillfully manipulated the situation. He inquired about the benefits of cooperating with the association, subtly probing for information that could be advantageous for him in the future. Meanwhile, he concealed his true intentions behind a facade of interest and cooperation. Han Junin, unaware of the subtle manipulation, continued to provide information about the association's resources, support, and potential opportunities. Kwon Ojin absorbed this information like a sponge, formulating plans in his mind. The scene set the stage for future interactions between Kwon Ojin and the association, introducing a dynamic where both parties had their own motives and hidden agendas. The narrative played with the theme of manipulation, showcasing Kwon Ojin's ability to navigate complex situations for his benefit. The protagonist, Kwon Ojin, found himself on the sparring ground, armed with a halberd, while Han Junin, the 6-star awakened individual, donned only boxing gloves. The unusual choice of weapon intrigued Kwon Ojin, who couldn't help but wonder if the Vega stigma, unique as it was, could bridge the substantial gap of 4 stars. With a hint of skepticism, Han Junin proposed a sparring match to test Kwon Ojin's abilities. The protagonist, maintaining his composed demeanor, agreed to the challenge. The air became charged with anticipation as the two prepared for the encounter. The sparring match commenced, and Kwon Ojin demonstrated surprising agility and skill with the halberd. Despite the difference in their star levels, he moved with a finesse that caught Han Junin off guard. The halberd whirred through the air, and Kwon Ojin showcased a level of mastery that defied the expectations associated with his Vega stigma. As the match unfolded, it became evident that Kwon Ojin's combat abilities were not to be underestimated. He skillfully utilized the halberd, exploiting its reach and employing techniques that hinted at a deep understanding of martial prowess. Han Junin, initially skeptical, found himself impressed by the proficiency displayed by Kwon Ojin. The sparring match, initially intended as a formality, transformed into a genuine exchange of skills. The atmosphere in the sparring ground shifted, and both participants engaged in a dance of blades and fists. The narrative skillfully highlighted Kwon Ojin's hidden strengths and the enigmatic nature of the Vega stigma, setting the stage for further developments in his interactions with the association and Han Junin. Kwon Ojin's lightning-infused attack took Han Junin by surprise, evident in the genuine bewilderment reflected in his wide-open eyes. The collision of their forces unleashed a spectacle of crackling energy, creating an aura of unpredictability on the sparring ground. The protagonist, armed with the Vega stigma, exhibited a level of strength and speed that defied expectations, especially for an individual associated with one of the 12 zodiac signs. As the lightning danced around them, the atmosphere became charged with tension. Han Junin, initially confident in his 6-star status, now found himself facing an opponent whose abilities transcended conventional expectations. The clash of their powers was not merely a formality, but a genuine test of strength, leaving spectators, if any, in awe of the unexpected display. Kwon Ojin, driven by the newfound power of the Vega stigma, demonstrated an intricate understanding of combat, utilizing lightning as both a defensive and offensive force. His movements were swift and calculated, weaving through the air with an agility that seemed almost otherworldly. Han Junin, still processing the unexpected turn of events, adapted to the dynamic confrontation. The sparring match evolved into a mesmerizing dance of elemental forces, each participant pushing the other to the limits. The outcome of this battle would not only determine Kwon Ojin's standing in the association but also unravel the mysteries surrounding the Vega stigma and its potential. The narrative skillfully builds suspense and anticipation, leaving readers eager to discover the consequences of this unexpected clash and the revelations it might bring about Kwon Ojin's unique abilities.